Kyle, we can't see you and we want to see your lovely face.
Okay, hold on.
Kyle's like, no.
I don't really want to.
Uh,
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23rd, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Community and Economic Development Committee is being conducted via remote participation. All votes during this meeting will need to be conducted by roll call. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Public participation will be permitted by allowing members of the public to join this meeting via Zoom. Mr. Chairman, if you can just take a roll call quote to enter into quorum.
Jack, are you here?
I'm here.
Jack, before we get started, before I can do the roll, we're all very sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Peter. 67 years is a long time.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you
Ryan?
all.
Ryan, are you here?
Yes, I am here. Sorry.
Joanne?
Present.
Mary?
Here.
And I'm here, so we have a quorum, and we've got 3 guests. Jen, Kathy, and Jen. All right, so why don't we get started? We got a fairly large agenda. And first item is budget update.
Yeah, sorry, I got the heater on behind me, but here's your budget update. The most important things to note is that you have almost 150,000 available in public improvement expenses and almost 185,000 available in unallocated funding. And then you also have almost 45,000 left in the projects and events. So that's obviously applicable tonight as you review the Seaside Festival. So you do have 45,000 about in that pot still.
Yep.
And then one other thing to note is that it's possible that the $55,000 that the committee previously allocated for the Parkers River Bridge lights might be getting returned to you. That funding might not be needed any longer. So that could be some additional funding coming back to you. It's a pretty significant chunk.
Kyle,
But you guys are in pretty good shape at the moment in terms of what you have available.
Kyle, on the 55, when would we know if that were coming back?
Kathy, do you know that?
Yeah.
Answer that question?
Well, we're basically halfway through the project right now, and Amanda Lima, who's the town engineer, has been keeping track of the budget, and it's looking like we might have some surplus funding, and the 55,000 may not be needed, but we're not going to know that probably until June.
Okay, so if the money were to come back to us, since we've signed a contract, Kathy, do you guys send us a thing saying we don't need it, so we have something in writing, so we don't make it look like we're reneging on a contract?
We would definitely do that, send you a memo indicating that. We just want to make sure that we're a little bit further along in the project and there's no unforeseen circumstance that come out that we might need the money. But right now we're looking pretty good.
Okay, excellent.
Peter, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I know this may seem inappropriate, but you know I did reach out to you when I saw the agenda because I just wanted to make sure that February 1st, if the CEDC decides that we have a contract to move forward, and I just want to make sure that that funding is allocated.
Right. If you notice at the very end of the agenda, we're talking about an additional meeting on January 21.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we're planning on discussing that money, the additional money, because you do have the contract to go forward for another 18 months. The question is, the dollars that you didn't spend in your current contract, is that going forward?
No, my question is for the next 18 months, where in this budget does it show the full amount that the CEDC voted on for the 18 months?
Is that not the 90,000 2021 allocation for marketing and promotion?
That's only a portion. So our last 18-month contract, Ryan, was $270,000.
Yeah, so it would be 90,000. You have it allocated 90,000 for the first 6 months and 180,000 for the last.
Fiscal year. right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Go
what
for
I'm,
that, yeah.
but so the CEDC, did they already vote on that? Because if they did, I missed it.
I don't think.
We're having a meeting later this month for that, right?
Yeah, I think that'll need to be officially voted on the 21st.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity.
And Kyle, note that Ken has arrived to the meeting.
Yeah, sorry I'm late, Peter.
No, please, you're telling me? I'm always late. So.
Peter, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
This is for Kyle and Kathy. You were just referring to what, $55,000 amount?
Yep.
For I missed the project name and where I might see it on this.
Parker's Rivers Bridge.
There it is.
Project, Joanne.
I'm sorry, I got it. I didn't know that it was the lights. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was voted, I'm going to say 18 months ago, 2 years ago, roughly, or maybe even longer. And it was to put fancy lights on the new Parker's River Bridge. Kyle, any additional updates in the budget?
No, I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it because you'll have both the Seaside Festival and then we have a funding request that Kathy will present afterwards. So I just wanted to kind of bring you up to date as to where you guys stand financially.
Okay, excellent.
Can I ask a question of Kathy about Parker's River Bridge?
Yes, absolutely.
So if they're halfway through the project, Kathy, what's the anticipated date to have that finished?
The bulk of the bridge itself will probably be finished by Memorial Day, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done to the approaches. There's also some work that needs to be done to rip wrap the northern side, and that rip wrap isn't going to be done until like November of this year, 2021. I hate to say this year, I didn't realize it's 2021. So it's probably not going to be fully completed until then, but we should have a much better idea once we're out of the ground, once the piles are in and a lot of the unforeseen site circumstances have gone away, we'll have a much more solid idea of the budget. The other issue is that some of the funding that we have is federal funding, and they can't have more than 75% of the project be federal funding. So 25% needs to be local, but we have 1.6 million in CPA funding available for the project. So I think we're going to be okay, but we won't know until we move along a little bit further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, unless there's other questions on the budget for right now, would be Jan and the Seaside Festival.
Hi there.
Jan, you've got the floor.
Well, what is it that you people wanted to talk to us about?
The St. Patrick's Day is moving their parade to September, and I can't remember the exact date in September.
Right.
And so we were hoping that you guys would use our money to do something besides a parade, which would be essentially back to back.
We could. We'd be willing to do that. We canceled it once before and the townspeople were in an uproar over it. But under the circumstances, it's absolutely understandable. And yes, we would be willing to do that. Our main concern, the biggest concern is we don't know how many artists and crafters are going to be left in business out there, how many food vendors are going to be available. And if we're going to try to come back, we need to come back strong. I will not do this if in fact it's going to be weak and look pathetic to what people are used to. So absolutely, we would be more than happy to use the extra money that we had earmarked for the parade towards whatever it is that we feel that we could add to the festival.
Right. And everybody that we've granted money to has said the same thing. If COVID overwhelms and it looks like there's going to be 3 people at their event,
It's gone.
it's gone. Exactly. Yeah, because it makes no sense to run something that,
No,
No.
absolutely not. Go big or stay at home.
right.
Jan, we just didn't want to approve the money without talking to you, with the restriction of the parade, without talking to you about the parade first. So.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have to work together and make this thing work for everyone.
Right. And if St. Patrick's weren't doing the parade, which of course is their only event,
Right,
a couple of weeks before you it's like, back to back.
right. It would be ridiculous.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
So-
yes, we would be more than happy to forego our parade this year and let them do theirs.
Okay, perfect. Quick off the top of your head, how much is the parade?
The last time we had it, we spent 13,500. In the grant, we only put in for 5,000.
So, okay, so your total grant request is 35. And for the parade portion, it would be 5. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but in your request, it's $5,000 is what you requested?
I believe so, yes. I don't have a cop in front of me. I'm sorry.
Jan,
actually
it
see
was 7,000.
7,000.
7,000 for the parade.
Thank you for the correction.
No problem.
Because and I'm speaking for myself right now. I want to make sure you have all the money that you need, less the parade.
Okay, but you asked if we could spend it on something other than the parade. So if in fact we're not going to have a parade, we would need to try and find something else as an addition. We did cancel our bed race last year due to lack of interest from participants.
Yeah.
And now if we have to cancel our parade, I would hate to give up that 7,000 when we could use it maybe to bring in another attraction, if possible. I don't mean to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy.
Well, I was watching Wall Street the other day, and they replayed the thing, greed is good. So Jen, don't worry about it.
And Jan, I've got a question. So when you say that, you mean just because you want something else as a attraction, not necessarily just to figure out how to spend the money?
Exactly, exactly. I'm not going to just blow through money to blow through money. That's not who I am. We scrimp and save and do a lot ourselves to save money. So absolutely. But I don't know as any of you know, but a few years ago, we had the bungee jumpers come in. And that was a huge, huge, huge plus for the festival. The crowds loved it, but it was $7,500 to bring them in. So things are not cheap. So, and we try to search for things that is not normal to Cape Cod.
Peter, I just have a question going back to the parade costs.
Yep.
Thanks again, Jan, for coming. On your application, not the amount that we were going to subsidize, but the total the cost of the parade, which I don't think generated any revenues. If I read the proposal right, you had estimated it to be $14,550.
Right.
So you would redistribute that and recirculate that back to other areas of your budget.
Correct.
As well. Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
So the net reduction would merely be would be the $7,000 portion of that we were going to fund.
Right.
In addition, you will save some money on police detail because you would.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But our figures from the previous year, not this past year, but the previous year, we did have one day that we did cancel our police details because of inclement weather. So that kind of skews the
Right.
figures.
Exactly. Anybody else have any questions on the Seaside Festival? I think we're all familiar with the event. We all love the event.
I just want
Jack,
to say, I just want to say I was disappointed in seeing that the town still wants to get their pound of flesh that we'll be paying for.
Well, it is what
They
it
were gonna
is, and
They said they were gonna do something about those charges. As a matter of fact, is Dan coming to this meeting? Oh, I don't know. Because he said that he would suggest to the selectmen that they make it a budget item. For financing the
yeah,
details. for the-
Dan will be here a
Seaside
little
Festival.
later on in this meeting. Would someone care to make a motion as to a dollar amount for the Seaside Festival? I can't make the motion. Somebody needs to make a motion.
Peter, I'll make a motion that we fund the Seaside Festival for the amount requested at 35,000.
Second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the table and there's a second. Are there any further questions?
I had a question for Kyle. I was gonna ask him if he needs some identification for the maker and seconder of the motion. Sometimes these Zoom meetings, they want.
Yeah, no,
all
I
that
got
in-
Ken was first and you were second on the motion.
Okay,
Peter, can I have a question?
Yes, sir.
Does anyone remember, was that what we discussed at the last meeting? I just can't remember. I just don't want to, I don't know. I can't remember if we made a motion on the funding amount and then we were just discussing the restriction or not, but was that the dollar amount we discussed at the last meeting? When we discussed this?
No, Ryan, this is Ken speaking. We had a discussion about funding less because of the parade. And that was the discussion at the last meeting. And then that's why we felt it wasn't fair to Jan and her in the festival to do that without having a discussion with her.
So we were talking about funding it at $28,000 level because we were backing out the parade without.
That is correct.
Okay.
We also had the discussion, Ryan, of what we had funded them in the past per what her request was in the past.
And I think, I'll say this, I think it's perfectly fine to fund them at the full amount this year, considering, everyone's we're gonna have to do a little more to help these events get back on track after COVID, and also that we had less requests come in, right? Because a lot of the events aren't doing things this year, so. And we had a year of savings last year, right?
Correct. Yep, correct. Are there any more questions?
Just I don't want to set the precedent for going forward of the full funding request at 35,000. So
we totally understand. We do.
Right. Okay, again, there's a motion and there's a second. And are there any further questions? Hearing none. Are you guys ready to vote? A nod, yes. All in favor?
again.
Okay, Jack? Yeah, Jack?
Yes,
Jack says yes. Ken?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes,
Joanne?
Yes,
Ryan?
yes.
Peter? Yes. Motion carries. So,
Thank you all ever so much.
right, Kyle will get you out a contract. You're familiar with the routine from here on out.
Absolutely.
And-
Be in touch,
and-
Jan.
Thank
And-
you so very much, all
Right.
of you.
Right,
Thank
and
you,
again,
Stay healthy. I'm going to sign off.
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Kyle, have the others that were already
thank you,
awarded
Jeff.
been
Again, all
notified?
thank you.
Yep, everyone's been notified.
Okay.
We already have some signed contracts.
Great.
And we've gotten some thank you notes as well.
Oh, that's right. I saw those. Yes. Okay. I should have known that. Yes.
Kathy, you've got the floor.
Well, I'm going to talk about what's hopefully another familiar project for you guys, the Riverwalk Park Boardwalk and Event Space at the old drive-in site. As you guys know, we had a feasibility and concept study done back in 2018, and they came up with the concept of having the park and the boardwalk and the event space. But that project really only came up with cost estimates for design and construction costs for the park, for the Riverwalk Park itself, as well as the boardwalk. It didn't really come up with any estimates for the event space itself. And I think as we have been discussing over the last couple of years, and as we've had more interim events there, we've identified that, yeah, we really do need to identify and come up with a concept design for the layout of the actual event space itself. And then ultimately that's going to need to be fully designed so that we're going to know what infrastructure, where's the water going to go? Where's the lighting going to go? Where do we need all of the electrical for a potential, future stage area and that type of thing? You guys kind of started that effort a little bit with the town's contract with the Fifth Element. We've had some discussions with them about maybe modifying their proposal and be concentrating more on doing a sound study, which was an issue identified quite a bit over this last summer events. And then also coming up with a bunch of different alternative layout sketches for different types of events. So where do you want stages? Where would you be putting, if you had an event, where would you be putting the different tents and layouts? Where would the food trucks go? Where would you put your porta potties and that type of thing? But then we'd also need someone to come up with that infrastructure design. And that's where we're working with Beta, who did the original concept design study. They provided a cost proposal to do the design and permitting for the entire project. And that came up to $730,000, with approximately $103,000 of that being attributed to the event space. Most of the funding that we have so far, which is, we got $1 million in Seaport grant, we have $2.2 million in CPA, and we have like $950,000 in land and water conservation grant. That's all related to the Riverwalk Park and some of it to the boardwalk. None of it's really attributed to design or construction of the event space. So the only unauthorized or undesignated funding that we have was a reauthorization of about $60,000 from the 2019 annual town meeting from unused article surplus. So what we would then have a deficit of is about $43,000 to sign that contract with Beta to do the design work for the event space. So I'm here today, hoping that we might be able to get some tourism revenue preservation funds to cover that difference for the event space.
So move.
Hey, Kathy, just a question for you on the design side from Fifth Element. Does their time schedule work in your schedule that they can get you the design work and keep everything on track?
We did have a request for a modified proposal out to them where we wanted it to be completed by June of 2021 at the latest. I think the original contract had expired in December of this last year. I'm talking about maybe extending it for another year, but we did talk about that would be too late for us. We need the sketches and the sound study done as soon as possible to keep that moving forward. Beta is going to have a lot of work to do just in initial site investigations. They have to reconfirm, the wetlands, have to do additional survey. We need some borings done. So they're going to be a little bit busy with that. So hopefully those types of things can be done concurrently so that once we have the sketches, then Beta will be ready to start coming up with more detailed conceptual designs.
Will they be selling that stuff out, Kathy? Because aren't they based in Toronto and they can't come to the States right now?
They can't come to the States. We did have a Zoom call with them fairly recently, maybe 3 weeks ago, to talk about that. And they were going to try and see what they could do without having to come, because I don't think they're going to be able to come into the country anytime in the near future. But I think we can provide them with enough information so that they don't necessarily need to come. And they're not going to be doing the actual sound study. I think they're going to help coordinate someone local and asking the right questions and getting that coordinated.
Okay.
Just if I can, so the chamber actually provided a sound engineer out of Connecticut to work with that we were originally going to hire to help develop a sound mitigation plan for that site. So I know Karen's been provided that contact information. So I assume that's probably who you guys are going to work with, hopefully. Since he's he's local, familiar with Cape Cod and a little bit about what's happened on the site in the past. Kathy, I just wanted to ask, so I think your office knows that the chamber's been extremely invested in what happens at the drive-in site because of the economic impact we saw this past summer. But in the discussions that I've had with the select board, and I spoke with Mark Forrest on Tuesday, and he told me that the select board still has not determined, because of town council under Article 97, exactly what types of events can happen there. So I just want to make sure, like, I want this to move forward, but I just want to make sure that we're all doing it, and I'm sure you guys are on top of this, but we're doing it in the right order. And if it even means us allocating the funds so it's there and it's ready for you to go, I think that's great. But I think we need to make sure that the select board, it just seems like there's a gap here, at least in the conversations that I've had. So maybe you can explain that.
I agree with you. I like your concept of maybe allocating the funds now, understanding that there's some a little bit additional work that we need to do even before we actually execute the contract with Beta. The town has hired special counsel who's familiar with Article 97 to go through all of the documents that we have on the project, including the grants that we've received, and to provide us with some guidance with regard to allowable uses. And that's something that's in progress right now. That is something that we need to know in order to have a clear idea of whether our original vision for the site, which was having intermittent interim uses there, event space there, is still a valid option with Article 97. I think the original concept is, but that's something that will be spelled out by special town council. But I think this level of activity that we saw last year, I think that probably would be considered a commercial use, non-COVID, post-COVID. So it probably would not be something that would be allowed without having some type of Article 97 disposal of the property or a portion of the property. So you're absolutely right. There are a bunch of questions that need to be finalized. And if we're comfortable with, just having interim events, periodic events there, that's great. But if somebody says, no, we really want to have a permanent drive-in there or something, that's different. That's a commercial endeavor and require disposition. And that has to go through the legislature. It's a very long, drawn-out process. I think that, the DISAC looked at that originally back when they started this whole process, and their recommendation had been to keep it recreational and not to try and subdivide and make something commercial.
Kathy, what's interim mean?
I shouldn't necessarily be saying interim. I should be saying intermittent. Sorry.
Right. Well, okay. I understand. What does the word intermittent mean? You can
Well,
have
I think what you saw this past
2
summer was basically 4 or 5 events each week for 4 months.
Yep.
I think that's too excessive. And I think this is what we're looking for from special town council. What level and frequency and type of events would be something that would be okay with regard to Article 97. I mean, even the Boston Common, you can get a permit to have, a concert at the Boston Common. So it's not unusual for these parklands, these Article 97 parklands, to be allowed to have some type of events on them.
Do you have any type of time frame that you think you would have an answer about Article 97?
I'm hoping to have some initial concept ideas and input from special counsel within a week, and then how long it takes them to maybe finalize it and get it before the Board of Selectmen. That could be a few more weeks beyond that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the genesis of all the questions are, there's a whole bunch of money allocated. You're asking us to allocate some money. And if the selectmen say, no, we're only willing to have a New Year's Eve party, do we want to spend all this money? And as Mary was saying, when will we know? And I think that's important. I personally have no problem saying that, yeah, if everything goes, we're willing to put the money out. Again, I'm speaking for myself, not for the committee. But it's a tough one to get all these people lined up if the selectmen, say, no, you can't do it. I mean, meaning the town council says you can't do it.
If town council says we can't do it, then we need to reevaluate the entire project. And is that really what we want to do? And whether we do want to subdivide it out and try and go through the disposition process. Because if you're just going to leave it as a blank field and nobody can do anything on it but lay on it on a blanket, then that's obviously not what we were originally looking for. And that's not what people have been putting their money towards. It's the whole concept of having an event space at the destination location going to draw people. It's just a matter of what level of activity is going to be acceptable for Article 97.
Right,
So-
Captain. So what he's saying is until we get that decided, we probably shouldn't put any money toward it because we don't want to go down that route until we know. Because if we're going to have disposition and split the property somehow, then that's going to perhaps change the design of it.
Peter, can't we just allocate the funds at this point in time with the
That's-
release?
That's what I
Will
was
the
gonna
release-
ask if Ryan wanted to change his motion.
I never got a second and Peter never recognized the motion, so.
I didn't know that somebody made a motion. And please, one at a time. Ryan, I think you have the floor.
Mary, nope, I was fine for them.
Okay, Mary? You're all set?
I'm all set.
Peter, I had a question.
Yeah, Ken?
Can we not allocate the funding but not, and put a contingent on it? It's not to be released until determination has been made by town council and select board?
I would think we would have no problem with that. Kyle? Are you still there, Kyle?
Yeah, I don't know about contingency. I would just say, I mean, you guys can allocate it and you can always, if it's gonna not be used, then you can always just take the money back. I mean,
But, well, the point being, Kyle, though, is we don't want it used until we know that it's a moot point if we can't use it other than to have somebody lie in a blanket in there. So,
I think the point is we wouldn't use, like Kathy, you wouldn't use it until you had that answer, right? It's kind of a chicken and an egg thing.
Correct. There's like a little bit of a laundry list of things hurdles that we need to get over. And like I said, I don't think the original concept was the issue. I think it was the level of intense use this past summer, where town council felt that because it was COVID, it really was recreational. It was the only game in town. It was the only thing people could do to get out of their houses because the general entertainment venues weren't open. It was the drive-in venues that were open. But moving forward, something of that level would really be seen possibly as being commercial. So we want to kind of get back to, okay, this was our original idea, and then how far could we go beyond that in order to have different types of events and uses at the site. So yeah, we definitely need to get that clarified, and it needs to go before the Board of Selectmen again.
To give you a short answer to your question, I think you can certainly condition it. I just don't know if you have to, based on that.
I'll say this, Kyle, I'm to the point of conditioning it because what I don't want to do is when, going to the Board of Selectmen to try to get that answer from town council, they say, well, let's see what the design looks like before we get that answer, right? Like them pushing their decision off continually and delaying what they need to be doing, which is their job, because they have funding and they can move things forward, and then delaying their hard decision.
Yeah. Good point.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to ask Kathy, so essentially what we're saying is that even the Riverwalk is problematic at this point. Is that correct?
I think you need to, I don't think this is going to be the case of being limited to only passive recreation there. I think we're still going to be able to do what we wanted to do. It's just how much further do you want to go? So if for some reason there's some statement made by the special town council that we can only have these very minor things there, then you probably would want to reevaluate your concept and make sure that that's exactly what you're interested in having going on there. And is that the investment that we want to make for the amount of destination draw that we're going to be creating, depending on what.
Obviously, the Board of Selectmen will want the drive-in utilization fund to have a voice in this.
Exactly.
Well.
I think we need to hear what special town council has to say, get that before the Board of Selectmen and the DISUC, and then just get some type of confirmation that this is exactly what we want to do and move forward. And I personally want that before we execute a contract with Beta. So, because otherwise we could be spending money and getting them started on something that may not be as viable as we wanted it to be.
Peter, if I may, that would be my question, Kathy. What were you expecting the scope of work for the 100,000 or so to be with Beta? And how quickly would a timeline be for their production of some kind of deliverable to us?
Well, I think it's a function of when the sketches are given to them by the fifth element, but then they would actually do a complete conceptual design layout with the utilities showing all of the different infrastructure that's needed for the event space. And that might be something that's by the end of the summer if everything moves forward quickly. But
so on the critical path here, Fifth Element is first in line.
they are definitely first in line. But as I was saying, there's other things in the beta contract, site investigations, doing some traffic counts, doing some borings. It's been more than 3 years since the wetlands were delineated, so we need to have those redelineated and surveyed in. So there's some other initial site investigation work that needs to be done. But I think for me to personally to feel comfortable, I would like that confirmation again from the DISAC and the Board of Selectmen that yes, this is what we want to go forward with. And I think it's going to come from input from special town council.
Personally, if based on the amount of time we've owned that property, I don't see why we couldn't go away with the Riverwalk, and if we couldn't do anything else with the rest of it, to just expand on the Riverwalk. But I'd like to see something there.
Kathy,
Your hand up.
yeah, so Kathy, how can Fifth Element be first in doing the design if we don't know what kind of events we can have there yet? So is it?
We don't even have a revised contract with them. With Fifth Element, we told them what we were looking for with the revised scope of services. But I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks, we're really going to start getting that answer from town council as to
So
what-
it'll be town, so the process is town council, select board, then Fifth Element if possible.
Yes, I don't think you would, I don't think that they're going to, special town council is going to say that you can only have a blanket there. I think they're going to identify periodic events that are allowed there and identify what they are for us and make it clear what's allowed. The level of activity, like I said, of last summer, I don't think is something that would be allowed without an Article 97 disposal.
But from my discussions, it's not only, okay, so once we determine what's allowed, then is it not up to the select board to decide what they want for the town? Like have that conversation with the public of what is really desired there?
I think it was more of a confirmation of was the original concept, which has basically been vetted previously, is that still valid? And then kind of how far can you go? I think it's going to have to be a balance between economic development and bringing people to the town and being considerate of the neighbors. So the frequency of something that makes noise like a concert is going to have to be far less. I don't think it's totally ruled out, but that's something the special town council will provide guidance on.
Based on the plan to have 2 separate spaces there, I don't think anybody has any question about whether the Riverwalk is permissible.
Agreed.
Would that be correct?
Agreed. I think it's something that could move forward, but it's just the whole project was a concept unto itself, which included having periodic events to draw people to the site in addition to the recreational activities of the Riverwalk parking and boardwalk.
Ryan?
Yes.
I apologize. I didn't realize that you had made a motion. I wasn't purposely ignoring you.
Okay.
So if you wish to make that motion again, I promise to pay attention.
No, I'll just let Mary or Ken make one.
Mary, do you want to make a motion?
Or not have one and let her come back when they figure this out.
That's the alternative, right?
Peter, I'd make a motion to grant the $43,000 request, to allot the $43,000 request based on releasing the funds once we have a little additional knowledge from town council and the select board.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Joanne seconded the motion. Are there any further questions?
Ken,
think-
what do you mean by a little more information?
A determination on utilization of the site. I'm concerned that we're gonna have $103,000 plan, pay these guys, and we find out that we can't have any entertainment there or utilize the site other than to lie on beach towels. That's just, right now, it's kind of like we're giving money away, don't know what we can use the site for.
Yeah, and again, if town council comes back and says you can have two concerts a year, do we want to spend $103,000 to have two concerts a year or potentially two concerts a year? So I agree with Ken. You know, we don't want to be, you know, the tail. We want to know what the dog has to say.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I mean, if you know, from the discussions today, it sounds like you guys are amenable to providing some tourism revenue preservation funds for this. And but
Absolutely.
if you're waiting for a little bit more information, I have no problem coming back later at another meeting once we have some additional information from special town council and from the board of selectmen, and then it can just be a clean vote. Because if it's conditioned, I can't access it anyway, so
right,
it's
but
not.
Kathy, I also don't have a problem allocating the funds, because I want you to understand that we fully agree that we want to utilize this site. So I just want to make sure the funds are there and available for you when you come back, that's all.
Okay, excellent. That sounds good.
And Ken, just one clarification on your motion. You want this to come out of the physical improvement fund?
Please.
Gotcha.
Okay, there's a motion on the table and there's a second. Are there any further questions? Anything that anybody want to condition this on? Hearing none, everybody ready to vote? I'm going to start in my upper left-hand corner, Jack.
Yes,
Right. Joanne,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Peter, yes. So the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
No,
and
I think it's great, and hopefully the selectmen will allow us to move forward in a positive way.
I feel good about it. I think we will.
Right.
We'll come to some reasonable balance of activities there that kind of meet the concerns of the neighbors, but also Article 97 and also the business community.
I'd like to say also that I know that I don't think anybody in the Board of Selectmen was in favor of allowing one person control of the site for the whole of the summer anyway.
Because I was hoping to line up Jimi Hendrix and have his 85 amplifiers piled up so you could hear it all the way to Yarmouthport.
Is this Coliseum too?
Exactly. Kathy, thank you very much. And
Yes.
please, you know, I realize that we voted the money, but please keep us up to date
Oh, yes.
as to what's transpiring.
Definitely.
Great,
definitely.
thank
One
you.
question for
Thanks,
you,
Kathy.
if you don't mind. All right,
Thank-
Kathy, there's a question from Jack.
yeah, Dan was on the agenda today. He hasn't left already, has he?
No,
Still here.
he is next.
Oh, okay. I didn't want him to leave without saying goodbye.
You can quiz them on details, police details.
Sounds good. Kathy.
All
again,
right, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you
Kathy.
so much.
Yeah.
Very, very much appreciated. Thank
Right.
you.
Next item on the agenda is update with Dan. Dan, are you there?
He is on the
Can you hear
call. Oh, yep.
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
All right, I'll try to speak louder. I'm driving, so.
Okay.
how's
Well, as
that?
long as your hands free, we don't want you to get arrested.
Oh, no, I'm totally hands-free.
Perfect. So some updates on broadband.
Yeah, so, we spent a long time analyzing what the best strategy going forward would be, what sites, what's referred to as a public license option versus a, commercial license, and whether we should build a, hub and spoke network from town hall, or should we just do splices along the open Cape, cable settled on that last concept as the most cost-effective way to achieve the goal that we're looking to do, which is to wire up as many town buildings as possible with the $100,000. And so Kyle has some documents there, I think, that indicate the buildings that we got a price quote from a vendor on, about $68,000. And it would be for a public license, which is the cheapest build. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. I further went back to Kyle and said, could you add a couple of alternate sites to it? And so when it goes out to a solicitation, those sites could be added if the total dollar value of the solicitation is under $100,000. So that's where we're at. And I think we're probably within 30 days of hitting the street with a solicitation.
And I did forget to include that information in your packet, but I'll send that out to you guys.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, so Kyle, correct me if you can do it off memory, but the buildings we were looking to connect to included the Yarmouth Fire Headquarters on Old Main Street,
Yep.
the DNR building, DY High School, and the new DPW building. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then I want to say it was police station as well. But
Yeah, we
I'll have to
probably added the police station, and then the alternate sites included Station 3, Fire Station 3 across from the new DPW building, and 50 Workshop Road.
Yep,
So,
that's correct.
you know, concurrently to the broadband project is what I refer to as the resiliency project. The resiliency project, if you don't know much about what's been going on in the clean energy sector, there's been a lot of change in the last couple of years as it relates to how a community could make some money in clean energy beyond just solar photovoltaic cells. So we have done some preliminary engineering work, and we're in the middle of what's referred to as a submission for an interconnection to connect.
Dan, we may have just lost you. You still there?
A battery in solar PV, not only to the new DPW building, but fire. Yeah, I'm still here. Hello.
You're fading in and out.
Okay.
We heard the solar panels, and then with a battery storage for backup.
Right. So what's changed in that line of business is that you now get incentivized as a community to, if you have a battery package, to send power back to the grid. And part of that capability includes having some redundancy with an internet connection so that the grid can monitor your battery condition and also make communications to it to get power from it when it needs to. So the connection of DPW building, Station 3 and 50 Workshop Road, those are all scheduled to have a significant solar PV and a battery location. So we've decided to add those spots to the broadband project. So that being said, the way the contractor would operate, he'll bring the wires along the public utility poles, drop it into the building where you have your IT infrastructure located, and leave it right there. And then it would be up to the town to decide within a building how you want to wire, the infrastructure, the network in. So this is just a start, and it gets, if you will, a limited spider web of broadband throughout a variety of different locations in the town, with the idea being that in the future, if you wanted to build from there, you would have a pretty good infrastructure to start that, although you would have to, if you wanted to commercialize it, you would have to pay a commercial licensing fee for that network. So it's an infant step. It's an important step nonetheless. And I've been following and in communication with a regular basis with the folks in Falmouth about their project, and I think we should stay close to them, because if there's a community that's going to pull off a municipal broadband network on the Cape, they're looking to be the first one to do it.
Excellent. So Dan,
Now, yeah, go ahead.
when are you leaving us?
Next Friday, not tomorrow, the next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've appreciated all the updates and the information and working with you, and I and the committee wish you the best in your next endeavor.
I appreciate that. And I'll leave you with this concept because I've talked about this for a number of years. It was only a matter of time before the major provider of broadband service, Comcast, would declare that they're going to put a commercial cap on data. And they about a month ago announced that there will now be new data level caps, just like cell phones were years ago. So what that means in the municipal broadband field, with so many people streaming now, that signals to the market that Comcast is now they're going to penalize you by streaming more, and they're going to use that money to supposedly build out an infrastructure, but I'm not necessarily thinking it's going to occur where we live. So you want to avoid data caps. The best way to do that going forward in the future is to build your own municipal fiber network.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you when can I call Comcast and tell them I no longer need their service?
Well, we're a few years away from that, but I think if you wanted to explore this topic a little bit further, I'm certainly willing to introduce you to the folks down in Falmouth because their preliminary work. They did a feasibility study. They hired a consultant. And as soon as Comcast hit the news with that data cap news article, the interest from the general population was significant as it relates to, we all know what this means, is that it's all going to just cost more when we want to cut the cable at the most opportune time, cut the cord. So I think Falmouth is an excellent example to stay close to, because once somebody does it in your territory, others will want to do it, and we'll actually have a pretty good network if we're successful in laying out these cables across the town, like I've talked to you tonight about.
Yeah, Dan. So if you could get all that contact information to Kyle, that'd be great. So then we can follow up on it, because I think as far as we're concerned, it's a major CEDC thing to have done, both for the residents and for any commercial businesses.
I agree. I will give Kyle all that information. Yep.
Right. That and upgrades to wastewater are the two big things. Mary, you got a question?
Yeah, Dan, number one, I'd like to thank you personally on behalf of the chamber for everything that you've done. You've accomplished an amazing amount of things in just a very short time. So we do wish you the best, and sorry to see you go, but we appreciate everything you've done.
You're very welcome. It's been a great pleasure.
Good. And I hope we get to cross paths again. My question is, because you have really advanced this discussion in Yarmouth, is Kyle the point person for the town right now for moving anything forward? Or is there a team that's working on this in Yarmouth now?
So I guess unofficially, I can tell you that I delivered to Kyle the magic scrolls, or the sacred scrolls of broadband and fiber lineology to his desk today, as a matter of fact. So he is the designated point person from my perspective. We don't really have a team that works on it because of just things being what they are. But I certainly think that it's let's get this deployment done, and it's worthy of a discussion. And it's got to be a pretty serious level of discussion as it relates to the path forward, because there is an opportunity to move rather rapidly from municipal speed to build out that broadband network. And what I would say, with the advances in Wi-Fi technology, which allows it to be really cost effective to do it, it's definitely within the town's grasp to be able to do a pretty significant build out on that topic within 2 to 4 years, no question about it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Peter, I'd just like to also just chime in and echo a little bit what Mary said. Dan, this is Joanne Crowley, Planning Board. I also want to thank you for your time with the town. I enjoyed working with you in my capacity, especially on the Capital Budget Committee for so many years. We had fun there. But I really do appreciate what the energy and new viewpoints you brought to the town, and good luck with whatever your next steps might be. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very much appreciated able to work with you. And I think, like I said, there's a lot to be proud of in the last few years. And the town's in a good spot. Once COVID clears, really the sky's the limit. I think I feel really good about that.
Excellent.
And I'd just like to say goodbye and wish you the best of luck. I remember you telling me that I was the first person that said hello to you when you came into Yarmouth.
You absolutely were, Jack. Yeah, and
Yarmouth,
I'll never
Yarmouth-
forget that. You were a friendly face in a world of strangers.
Yarmouth's been very lucky in having a town administrator, I'll have to say that. You've been one of the best.
Thank you. And to answer your question, Jack, because I did not forget, I think once COVID clears financially, if there's a time to have the selectmen revisit that policy, once we get COVID behind us, that would be a good time. I think the school budget DY agreement has stabilized things significantly, and there's a lot of really good metrics, if you will, on town finances going forward in the future. But you just got to get COVID out of the way first.
Right. Thanks again.
You're very welcome. Been a
Dan,
pleasure.
thank you.
All right, Peter. Thank you.
Yep.
Dan, thank you. Good luck to you, Dan.
Thanks, Ken. It's been a pleasure. I won't be going too far, and I'll make sure you guys know where I'm at. So
Beautiful.
Kyle will take good care of it. So, all right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time. Good luck.
Mary, I'm feeling like a winter wonderland.
Well, that was not supposed to be on the agenda. What was supposed to be on the agenda was hopefully we were going to be presenting Yarmouth Recreation and the Yarmouth Chamber presentation about the request for funding for the ice skating rink. Unfortunately, we
Sorry
have-
about that, Mary. Sorry, that was my fault about that.
That's okay. It sounds wonderful, but it did come from the root of our winter carnival, because for 2 years, the chamber has been talking about doing a winter carnival, and February 2021 was supposed to be the year that we launched it. But obviously that's not going to happen. But what I did want to share with you tonight, and hopefully at the next meeting, if we could, with agreement on the next agenda, put the request for funding for the ice skating rink. The reason we're not presenting to you tonight is because we have not been able to get a clear answer from town council if they would allow Yarmouth Recreation to own an ice skating rink because of liability. At this time, we have actually secured $20,000 from the nonprofit that I mentioned to you at the last meeting from Community Visions. So we have half of the funding at this time. And so, like I said, once we get the determination from town council on if recreation can own the rink, we are also looking into another option if they tell us that they cannot, that if the chamber were to own the rink, what the insurance would be. So it's amazing that we've gotten this far in the process. We have half of the funds secured, and then the insurance is the questionable step that's holding us right now.
Mary, do you expect to have that answer by potentially the 21st, January 21st?
Yes, we will definitely have an answer from Pam from now. She's gone back and forth with town council, but we didn't want to make the presentation without having that answered.
All right, well, we can get you on for the next agenda then, no problem, if the committee
Okay.
agrees.
Right.
Gary, I can tell you that the insurance is, from a town standpoint, is doable. The town of North Conway, New Hampshire or the town of Conway, New Hampshire, I should say, has 2 outdoor ice rinks that the town owns and manages and runs. There was a tragic situation there about 5 years ago where an individual actually was killed. They fell on the ice and cracked their head and actually died. So the town closed it down for a couple of years, but they were able to procure insurance and they're open again. So it's doable. It's just I have no idea the cost of the insurance, that's all.
Right.
So it's not an ice rink per se, it's a synthetic ice rink where you can actually skate at 80 degrees. Sorry.
Okay.
Right. And Ken, I think we need to cut off discussion because it's not on the agenda.
Sure.
And again, good background. But I think no, we got to cut off discussion on this topic. It'll be on the 21st. Mary, I don't mean to
No, you're fine.
pull
And I'm
in.
sorry, I thought Winter Wonderland was that's what you were talking about, Mary, the Winter Carnival. I got messed up with that. That's why I put Winter Wonderland.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ice skating rink.
we'll blame it all on Kyle, and then we'll all.
You should. It was my fault. So.
Works for me.
Everyone, I'm gonna hop off the call. I just wanted to stay on for the ice skating rink conversation, but I guess I will see you guys hopefully all next week.
Yeah, on the
Great.
21st, same time, we'll have the meeting, and so it's chamber and chamber and chamber.
And chamber.
and
Okay.
chamber.
All right. Well, have a great night, everyone.
Great.
Thank you,
thanks,
Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Future agenda items, reorganization of committee officers.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I don't want to like talk about this stuff specifically, but I just kind of want to make you aware that there's a lot of stuff on the horizon for you guys. Well, not a lot necessarily, but specifically the reorganization and the goals review that you guys, I don't know when the last time you guys have reorganized for. I don't think it's been done since I started working here, but we need to do that. We're supposed to do that every year. And then you guys have been looking at your goals kind of on an annual basis. So we should probably continue on that path. Obviously, we're going to have future discussions on the drive-in site based off of updates we get from Kathy. And then I put on the blight removal program too there that we had previously talked about. Whether it be that program or something else, I do think you guys have a decent amount of funding that you guys can be creative and kind of, do something with it. It's just a question of what you want to do with it, As I showed you tonight, you have almost 150,000 in physical improvements, or minus what you just allocated tonight, and almost 185,000 in unallocated. So I think the funding is there if you guys wanted to do a blight removal program or something of that ilk, or if there's some sort of business assistance program. But as we've discussed in the past, it's a little sticky with the whole meals and rooms tax being the source of your funding. So just some things to chew on for the future. We won't be talking about any of these things on the 21st. I think we'll keep that just to the chamber topics.
Yeah.
But probably in February, we'll have to start talking about some of these items.
Right. On quick on blight removal, most of the blight is private property. And unless the town is going to take it over, I think it's still going to remain as private property. And I think it'd be a hard one to chew for other folks if suddenly we're tearing down something so they can build something.
Right.
Yeah, I think the argument would be, would you rather look at what they're not able to tear down? Like, anything is an improvement on an eyesore for everybody, I guess would be kind of what I would say in response to that. But, that's a future discussion. I'm not trying to steer you guys down any path. I just kind of wanted to let you know, that we'll probably have to discuss those things in February and March.
Can I ask for one additional thing to be added to the agenda on the 21st? I would like to, I had reached out to Mary Wagon yesterday. I was curious what kind of funding she still had available for businesses for COVID. And she did get back to me very quickly that there's $110,000 in grants available for businesses. So I was curious if we could just talk about right now, what is available for COVID for the businesses through the town. So like, I know that there's been a delay where they're not having to pay certain permits and fees, that it's been extended to the spring, I believe. So I'm just trying to find out exactly what's in place, what the town is doing to help the businesses out, because I know there's probably a lot of things I'm not aware of. Is that possible, Kyle, or is that?
Yeah, sure. I would just have to see if Mary is available, but I don't see why not.
So Mary and I are working on the grants, so that's just one thing. What we're trying to do at the chamber is create a page. We have a page that's already COVID, but like what's available through the town, what's exactly available through the state, what's exactly available through the feds. So that now we have so much on our website, it's not easy for people to navigate. And so we're trying to figure out how we can break it down in increments for the business community to just
Yeah,
try
well, the
to,
only thing I'm aware of from the town is Mary's program. I'm not aware of what you were referencing with the delay of fees and stuff, so I'll have to look.
yeah,
into it.
Tom Nicanello had mentioned something to me like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, really? I wasn't aware of that. So,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything of that nature.
all right,
So,
maybe I'll reach out to Linda and ask her.
yeah, I can do the same.
Right.
Okay.
Mary, would it be worthwhile for you to have one of my friends at one of the banks call you and tell you about the PPP, the updated PPP program?
No, I've got a lot of information on that. And in fact, I was working with Mary this afternoon. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Very good.
And are people aware that the MGCC deadline is tomorrow, Mary?
Yep. You know, it's just trying to keep that information fresh. People are just, and
I know, and it's tough. It's like they're different programs, but they're similar. So it's kind of, they get confusing.
right. And I talked to Kathy and Mary in the last week, and I was telling them what we're literally doing right now is calling businesses and just having a conversation with them. But it would be really good, like if I did have it all outlined really clear, town, state, federal. So maybe we can work on that together, Kyle, not throw another thing, but just try to, and,
Yeah.
and then maybe bring it back to this committee to say, hey, this is what we were able to put together.
All right, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Very, very good suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee member updates? Kyle?
Well, I'm not a committee member, but
Okay.
one committee
Yeah.
member update I'll do for Joanne, because I'm not sure if I sent it out this week, but the visioning survey, that is still open until the 31st. So hopefully everybody has filled out their visioning survey. So sorry to steal your thunder there, Joanne, but that was.
That's okay. I was gonna remind everyone, just log on. I've actually done mine. It takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because I think most of our thoughts are pretty well developed here. But it would be, the important part of this is obviously your concerns and your voice, but having a robust count, having a sample size that is of a fairly good size, it just helps. It helps with the legitimacy of the whole process. So every survey counts. So and the easiest way to do it is just log on and click away. So thank you.
And the change,
So, while I have the floor,
Peter, if you'd like.
sure, Mary, go ahead.
I was just going to say, oh, go ahead, Jack.
Jack is
Oh,
speaking.
I don't want to. Anyway, Cape Cod Commission, of course, is working on an answer to the citizens' amendment to the regional policy plan was presented to us back in June. And the regional policy plan, which we thought was a pretty good one, and we don't think it's a very good idea to update it as often as within 6 months. But maybe I'm prejudiced because I was on a committee that did the update. But anyway, we now have a climate action committee. And yeah, I'm on that one too. The staff has come up with 2 new technical bulletins, one on energy and one on climate mitigation. And we've been working on that for a while. They had a lot of people who were interested. They had several groups they called in on different transportation and housing and so forth. And interestingly enough, there was some playback because I myself went and wanted to observe one of the stakeholders meetings. And interestingly enough, we had some stakeholders that came to some of the committee meetings. But today, the whole package was presented to the full commission as drafts. And we'll probably take some action at our next meeting on the 19th. But it was an arduous process, and I have to say that the staff produced some really quality work, and we will probably approve the new technical bulletins on energy and climate mitigation, and probably add some new language to the original policy plan that will answer what was requested in the amendment. And that'll be on the 19th.
Oh,
That's
excellent.
about what we've been working on at the commission, really. That's
Mary,
good.
you start. Jackie, you all set?
Yep.
Mary, you start to say something?
No, I was just gonna let the group know that I had talked to Kathy Williams the day ago. And Joanne, what we're trying to do from the business community is try to get a workshop together. And again, like I said to Kathy, it's really about making that personal phone call to invite those businesses to attend. So hopefully the chamber will be able to work with you and pull that together. And I did talk to the Rotary Board last night, and they're happy to promote it as well to get as many Rotarians there. So
Great.
hopefully it'll help the process too.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Mary. I think we've actually scored a date. I think we
I
have a
think it
date
was the
and a time.
27th.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
27th at 3 p.m., right?
exactly. Thank you, Kyle. So Mary, you and I should chat, I guess.
Perfect.
Sometime before that. Okay.
Yeah, just drop me an email what you'd like to do and we can do it.
I can help with any
Okay,
outreach
great.
if you guys need any assistance.
Yeah, what I suggested to
That'd be,
Kathy is if you guys actually wanted to identify specifically what industries you want, I know you want to have everyone involved, but if we can literally reach out to X number of restaurants, retail, hospitality, contractors, just let us know and we can identify the businesses that we think would be responsive. And I think that would be helpful.
That would definitely be helpful.
Any other committee member updates? Hearing none.
I do have a staff update for you on the banners, Peter.
Yeah.
So we did have one banner unfortunately damaged on the Four Corners intersection there on the corner. So we're gonna have to get the banner up a little bit higher, probably 3 to 4 feet higher, so it doesn't happen again. I did have it arranged with Simple Signs to go out there next Tuesday to do it, but they ended up backing out because they don't want to fill out the prevailing wage paperwork that we require, which I don't really understand because it's one piece of paper, but that's neither here nor there. So I've been working with Plymouth Sign. I sent them the materials to try to get us a quote. I mean, time is of the essence. If I could go out there and fix it myself, I would, but we need someone with a bucket truck to do it, unfortunately. So I'm trying to get that fixed ASAP, but it hasn't been easy so far, but I've been trying to work with Plymouth Sign to get it done. So I'll give him another call tomorrow. I've been waiting a couple of days for his quote. So I'm gonna
We
probably
can't-
An estimate on the cost, Kyle?
So the cost was originally Simple Signs quoted at $370, but then again, they didn't take into account prevailing wages. The police detail is $208. And so you guys did have enough money. You do have some funding in your banner account to pay for the repair. So you don't need to allocate any additional funding, depending on what Plymouth Sign Company quote come in, you might. But I think you'll have enough for the repair at least. But just wanted to give you a quick update on that.
Could the chamber find a courtesy member to take care of that?
Certainly, if somebody wants to, yeah.
Okay, I did reach out to the previous town where I worked and asked them the height of our banners that we had them at, and it was 10 feet.
Yeah. So we have them just a couple feet lower. I honestly think that one is the only problem one, the one that got hit already.
I do too.
But gotta get it fixed. It looks worse now because it's wrapped around the pole now too. So it goes from being a nice beautification thing to an eyesore. So we gotta get it fixed.
Well, we can use it under the blight removal.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get somebody up there with a ladder just to take it down so it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, that would be the bare minimum that we needed to do, certainly.
All right,
Yeah.
let me see what I can do, Kyle.
I'm willing to go up there on the ladder if someone's got high enough of a ladder.
I've got an 8-foot ladder.
All right, I'll go. I don't know if that is high
No, we
enough to
need
get
the
the
10
top of it,
feet.
though.
Yeah, let me see what I can work out.
I'll volunteer a ladder.
Minutes for the December 17th meeting. I was not at that meeting because I'm an idiot and I missed it on my calendar. Someone want to?
I was, Peter, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes
I'll
as.
second that motion.
There's a motion and there's a second. Any further questions, corrections, updates? All in favor? Jack,
Aye.
Joanne,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
and of course I'm a non-voter at that point. Upcoming meetings, we've got the meeting on the 21st with a question mark. Absolutely, we're gonna have the meeting on the 21st. Kyle, we can't hear you. I can see your mouth.
Would you like to have that at 4 or 4:30? Or anytime, really. It's up to you.
4
guys.
o'clock is fine with me. If that's better for everybody else, Ken?
yes.
4 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
4
Consensus,
o'clock.
consensus is 4 o'clock on the 21st. I also have a meeting that evening, so I'm gonna have to bug out at 6 if we go that long.
Do you guys want to kind of make 4 o'clock your more or less default meeting time going forward, or is this just a temporary? It doesn't matter to me. I'm just.
I like getting done earlier personally, so.
4 o'clock's fine with me.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Does that work for you, Kyle?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I work at your leisure, but that definitely works for me.
And then of course we'll have a regular meeting on February.
So the other thing is I will be on vacation that week. So we might want to move that, or I can have Karen fill in for me. The week of the week of February 11th, I'm talking
Is she able to handle it?
I don't know. Yeah, I think she could, but we can talk about that at your meeting next week.
Okay, excellent. Any new business? Anything that anybody wants on the next agenda or the February 11th agenda? Mary, can you handle number 8 on the agenda?
I certainly can. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is
I'll
there a
second
second? Okay, Jack seconded.
Second.
Ken, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Joanne,
yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And I also agree. And Kyle, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good meeting to everybody.